This is our educational series called Friday 5. Today, we're going to be talking about the 5 essential tips for sellers for their home inspections to make it easy as pie.
Today, the first point is going to be about cleaning and decluttering and why that's important.
I think first of all, you want to make sure your house is clean. It puts out a great example, and it also means to the buyer that you're taking care of your house if it's nice, clean, and organized.
Don't forget, when the buyer looks at a house, sometimes they go through it really quickly on the first viewing, and the inspection is their first chance to actually look at it closely. So they're going to make an inspection request as a result of the inspection. You want them to really still want this house.
Also keep in mind, things like dirty dishes, they are going to run your dishwashers, and if the washer and dryer are part of the sale, they're going to run those too. So just keep that in mind. Don't have the load of dirty wash in the washing machine. Tip number 2 is about safety codes.
The big ones are smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, and earthquake straps on the water heater.
Make sure the water heater is double strapped and that you have smoke detectors in each bedroom and that the CO is on each floor somewhere between the bedrooms.
We want to make sure you're aware of these things. You don't necessarily have to do it before the inspection, as long as you understand that the inspector is going to call these things out. Number 3, landscaping. Why is that a thing on inspections?
A lot of times you don't want your shrubs to be touching the house or the siding. You also don't want dirt to be touching the siding. Why? Because they're focused on the pests that might be actually attaching themselves to the house and coming in.
Any plants that touch the siding of the house are a bridge for insects, and inspectors are going to pick on that. So if you have any pruning to do, you might want to do that in advance. Make sure nothing's touching the siding. It's very common for sellers when they're getting ready to sell their house to put down a fresh load of bark on all the beds right up against the house. If that bark is piled up too high against the foundation, it might reach the siding. That's a problem too. So just make sure that siding is clear all the way around.
Tip number 4 is easy access.
So we're talking about the inspector has to get to certain things. We've had a lot of problems with sellers having too much stuff in the garage that's blocking the electrical panel. If he can't open that up, and he actually has to remove the front face of the panel off to get a look at the whole thing all around the circuit breakers. So make sure there's clear access to that.
You also need to make sure that he can get into the crawl space. A lot of crawl spaces are actually in your coat closet in a lot of homes. So make sure that's emptied out, that he can actually get down into the crawl space. He's going to get down there. So he's going to check everything out, make sure there's nothing underneath the house that might be an issue. Also make sure that your attic space is also clear, that you can actually climb up, he can go through that, and you can do that.
Yeah, if the attic access door happens to be in a closet, we've had circumstances where a closet was so jammed that he could not get a ladder in there to get up into the attic. So make sure you can get to all the important stuff. The 5th big tip, and we can't stress this enough, is don't be there.
You probably ask why, because you want to be helpful, you want to tell all the things about the house that's unique to your house. The problem is communication between buyer and seller can get a little confusing. People hear things differently. For instance, we had a seller once that had a complete surround system in their bonus room. And he said, under no conditions am I going to sell that or be a part of the sale. I'm taking that all with me. So I said, okay, no problem. Put it in the listing agreement, put it in the listing instructions. Everybody knew. Seller was there at the time they did the home inspection, and I get a call back from the agent on the other side and said, hey, that's fantastic. Your seller's going to give us the speakers. Called my seller and he said, nope, that's not what I said. So it can get, miscommunications can be heard, and then you have to clear things up. The other reason why you don't want to be there is to really give the buyer the freedom to wander around the house. They fell in love with your house. They made an offer on your house. What you want to do is them to start feeling like it's their house. So they start putting their furniture in. They start measuring where their couch is going to be. If you're there, the whole thought process changes and it focuses on you. What you wanted to do is focus on the buyer and why they love your house. So staying away is actually beneficial for the buyer.
As another example, we had a seller who was a contractor. He really wanted to stay for the inspection. And it was mostly because he was proud of the work he did on the house. He wanted to be able to answer questions for the inspector. But here's the thing, if the buyer learns he's is a contractor. It's possible that the buyer might expect some level of warranty for the work he did.
The other thing about this is knowing that he's a contractor, the buyer may ask for more things on their repairs. So remember, when you're in an inspection as a seller, you're still in negotiation. So you want to make sure that you don't position yourself where someone might say, oh, well, if you're a contractor, I'd love you to do this, this, and this. When had they not known, they might never have asked.
That's a great point. We want you to ace your inspection. Don't forget, it's a huge negotiation in the transaction. Until that inspection is settled, the buyer could kill the deal. The buyer could renegotiate the price depending on the results. So we want you to get this right. If you'd like more tips, and we're definitely going to be talking more about inspections, subscribe to our YouTube channel.